my name is Eleanor Yelm, and I'm going to talk about psilocybin as a treatment for major depression. Our learning objective for today is to describe how psilocybin can be used as a treatment for depression. So pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Just remember that. So I wanted to kind of start off with a number here. As many of us know, the pandemic took its toll on our mental health, and last year 42% of US adults reported symptoms of both anxiety and depression. So it's important to be mindful. This is a very prevalent disease, and we definitely need more research on how to handle it more effectively. So what are the symptoms of MDD? Well, as we talked about in class, symptoms include feelings of sadness, hopelessness, anxiety, and fixation on failures, and self-blame. So the problems with current pharmacotherapy for MDD is that drugs, especially selected, like I'm talking selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, they have very limited efficiency and effectiveness, and they often have adverse effects such as weight gain or weight loss of. And there's also the problems with adherence, always having to take a pill every day for oftentimes months at a time, and many are also considered to be treatment resistant, which means patients won't respond to treatments as effectively. So basically, the take-home message here is that current drugs for MDD are producing modest treatment results, and because MDD is such a prevalent disease. So what does psilocybin have to do with this, you may ask? So psilocybin is a psychedelic ingredient found in the so-called magic mushrooms, and when psilocybin is injected or digested, it becomes psilocin, and that is the active psychedelic component of psilocybin, and it is hallucinogenic, which means it can produce hallucinations if taken at a larger dose. It's a partial agonist at the 5-HT, which is serotonin 2A receptor. And I will come back to this, don't worry if it sounds confusing right now. Psilocybin also has low addiction potential, and it's not likely to get addictive. You won't feel a feeling like after you take it several times, and it is generally not associated with long-term perceptual, cognitive, or neurological dysfunction. So what does psilocybin feel like? Well, a psychedelic ingredient, it feels like, Michael Pollan put it nicely in an interview when he said, the self does not exist while on psilocybin. And this kind of explains it very nicely. Psilocybin induces a widespread dysregulation in the brain, and it provides this glutamatergic output, as I talked about earlier, so to almost all areas of the cerebral cortex. And I also include a little picture down here to show you kind of what it looks like. So a couple of researchers analyzed fMRI scans of 15 people after being injected with psilocybin. So this is the before picture and this is the after picture, and they kind of compared them, and they recorded the activity and looked at how much more our brain is active when taking this component. As you can see, it's very dysregulated. It has connections all over, and yeah, it's crazy. It's a fun little picture. So psilocybin in action. So I wanted to come up with kind of like an example of what does psilocybin have to do with depression. So Davis and colleagues wanted to look at adults with moderate to severe MDD, and they received a 2-day-long psilocybin administration sessions. So these sessions were typically 11 hours long, very, very a lot, but they were only 2 days, divided into 1.5 weeks. And during the sessions, participants were encouraged to kind of focus their attention inward. They wore shades, they were listening to music, and researchers wanted to kind of just enhance that inward reflection, and make them think about how they were. So after a session, it said results were pretty significant. 71% of patients after week 4 had significantly responded to the intervention. So 50% reduction in depression score, and effects were 2.5 times greater than the effect size found in psychotherapy or talk therapy, and 4 times greater than effect size found in pharmacological depression treatment studies. So even though psilocybin offers promising path for MDD treatment, that is not to say that there are not risks. But the conclusion here is that psilocybin definitely shows a lot of promising evidence for potential benefits for some conditions, such as MDD, but I'm pretty excited to see what the future of research holds in psychedelics, and I hope you are too. Thank you for listening. Bye. And here are my references.